The galaxy held its breath, or would have if the majority of species didn't breathe methane or through photonic osmosis. Billions tuned in across 17 systems to watch the spectacle. Kragalon Nami's annual Blood Bowl of Champions, a gladiatorial contest drenched in tradition, screams, and the occasional diplomatic incident. This year, the opening commentary crackled to life with the nasal shriek of Vrieg Zol, a five-eyed Tharnakian known for his dramatic flair and complete lack of understanding of Earth culture. Welcome, blood drinkers and contract viewers across the void. Today, history will be made, or unmade, because in Lane 42, we have a human child. Laughter erupted from the booth, a sickening sound like slapping a bowl of octopus soup. Yes, a genuine Earth larva, age 10? Isn't that still pre-hunter phase? The camera feed cut to a platform rising from beneath the arena. There stood a small figure in oversized cargo shorts, light-up sneakers, and a t-shirt featuring a faded Power Rangers logo. His hair was messy in the way only boys from rural Nebraska could manage, and he stood with the nonchalance of someone who had clearly not processed his situation fully. His name was Timmy Jenkins, and he was, at this precise moment, trying to figure out if he'd get in trouble for skipping school. In one hand, he held a juice box. Apple, not grape, because grape was for weirdos, and in the other, a packet of Lunchables missing the cracker compartment. He looked out at the 300,000-seat arena surrounded by alien species both grotesque and refined, and he sighed. "Is this like gym class dodgeball?" he asked aloud, not expecting an answer. No one in the arena had bet on him lasting more than 9 seconds. Some of the mercenaries in the staging area were already deciding who would get his teeth for trophies. The reigning champion, a five-limbed brute named Skarngar of the Tuscan Legion, chuckled while oiling his plasma axe. Skarngar was responsible for vaporizing 3 moons during a hissy fit, and had once eaten his own cousin during a press conference. He was not, by galactic standards, someone easily impressed. But seeing the human child? He laughed so hard he coughed up a tungsten molar. Timmy didn't care. He just wanted to sit down. But there was no chair, no Xbox, and definitely no Wi-Fi. His situation hadn't fully registered until the announcer began listing the names and criminal records of the mercenaries about to face him. Each had a kill count that required scientific notation. He looked around for an adult. So, are there rules, or is this more of a last kid standing type thing? Back on the Gorlaxian broadcast ship, Vrieg Zol wheezed. "What's he doing with that pouch? Is that a nutrient pack? A chemical explosive?" The co-commentator, a former warlord turned influencer named Bloktun, frowned. "It's, a Lunchable. I think it's food. Sort of." Timmy was too busy peeling the plastic off a slice of damp turkey to notice the doors slamming open. Across the arena, the mercenary gates unleashed 17 of the most lethal beings known to the Galactic Core. They came in all shapes, slithering, stomping, hovering, slinking. One was literally just a sentient cloud of microblades named Hiss. Skarngar led the charge, raising his weapon high. "For glory and teeth," Timmy finished his turkey slice. "Cool cosplay." The horn sounded. The fight began. Everything after that felt like a glitch in reality. A human child shouldn't have survived 3 seconds, let alone 30. But Timmy didn't run, scream, or even blink. Instead, he dropped his juice box, stepped back, and reached into his cargo shorts. What emerged first was a rubber band with the speed and focus of a kid trying to stop his sibling from reaching the last cookie. Timmy loaded a folded card, "Happy Birthday, Grandma," into the band and fired it. It struck the eye stalk of a beast that had once decapitated an entire squad of elite guards. The beast screeched, reared up, and tripped on a rogue pebble, launching itself straight into the electrified containment wall. It died instantly. First. "Blood," said Bloktun, stunned. "From a Greeting card. Timmy blinked. That was lucky. More poured toward him. He stepped back again, this time grabbing a small soda bottle from his bag. He jammed in a Mentos with the precision of a caffeine-addicted chemist and tossed it under the approaching crab-like mercenary. The eruption launched the creature 6 feet into the air, where it collided with another, exploding both in a spray of carapace and disbelief. At this point, the audience wasn't cheering. They were staring, some with horror, others with fanatical fascination. One wealthy Tsarnite noble began live-streaming himself, declaring Timmy a deity of entropy. Skarngar was furious. "You think you're clever, whelp? You think tricks and party favors will save you?" Timmy looked at him. "Dude, you look like a rejected Ninja Turtle." Skarngar roared and charged. Timmy dove sideways, producing a fistful of pop rocks. He flung them into the alien's face, not as a weapon, but as a distraction. Skarngar bellowed in confusion at the sudden crackling sounds inside his helmet. Then his foot landed on the discarded juice box, slid, and he tumbled onto a jagged piece of debris. There was a sharp, echoing crack. Skarngar didn't move again. "Okay," said Timmy, breathing heavily. "Not like gym class." 8 mercenaries remained. One tried to leap from above. Timmy flung a handful of slime from a Ghostbusters toy he'd picked up at a garage sale. The slime hit the attacker mid-air, weighed it down, and sent it crashing into another. 3 minutes in, half the roster was unconscious, incapacitated, or experiencing existential panic. A heavily armed lizard creature dropped its weapon and raised its claws. "I surrendered to the Chaos Deity." Timmy frowned. "Dude, I'm just trying to get home." On the broadcast chip, Vrieg Zol was screaming. "Is this a tactical PsyOps experiment? Did Earth create a combat larva? We need sanctions." Blocktoon had gone quiet, simply muttering, "I fought in the War of 7 Suns, and I've never been more afraid." The last mercenary, a silent killer named Sol Nek, approached slowly. His body shimmered with cloaking tech and years of stealth training. He circled the boy, calculating weaknesses, searching for signs of exhaustion. Timmy looked up at him, lips pursed. "You're one of the serious ones, huh?" Solnek made no sound. Timmy raised his walkie-talkie. "You're probably thinking, he can't hurt me with that. And you'd be right, if I didn't have the batteries backwards." He flipped them, clicked the transmitter on, and the frequency clashed violently with Solnek's neural implants. The mercenary screamed, clutching his head, stumbling wildly before crashing into the same wall where the first beast had fried. Silence. Not the stunned kind. The sacred kind. The kind galaxies write songs about. Timmy looked up at the floating camera drone. "Is the match over? Or are there bonus rounds?" The drone hovered uncertainly, then flashed green. Victory. Somewhere a Gorlax fainted. Back on Earth, Timmy's mother was loading groceries into the trunk of her van. A sudden notification on her phone blinked. "Interstellar broadcast. Your child has been declared a weapon of mass disruption." She sighed, staring into the sky. "Timothy Matthew Jenkins. I told you not to talk to strangers." In the arena, the crowd began to chant, not in fear, in reverence, in disbelief, in awe of the tiny figure in light-up shoes now waving awkwardly. One voice from the stands, shaky, ancient, asked the question that would echo across empires. "What if he's not even the scary one?" Timmy scratched his ear and looked around. "Man, I hope someone brought lunch. I'm starving." By the time Timmy was escorted off the arena floor, his name was already trending on every galactic data stream, from the inner rings of Zol Meridian to the dim colonies orbiting black hole S47. The human child who had taken down elite mercenaries, using nothing but snack food and prepubescent defiance, was now considered a cosmic anomaly. Analysts, generals, warlords, even philosophers began debating if he was a fluke of nature or the tip of some horrifying earthly spear none of them had anticipated. Timmy, meanwhile, was just annoyed his juice box was gone. He was placed into what the Gorlaxians considered a safe diplomatic suite, which to Timmy resembled the waiting room of a DMV operated by someone who had read about furniture once in a book. The chair was too tall, the floor was sticky, and the only thing playing on the hollow screen was a cooking show where the chef regularly exploded. None of this fazed Timmy. He was 10. He had survived car trips with his cousins and school lunches, involving mystery meatloaf. Nothing scared him. The door hissed open and in stepped someone who clearly hadn't slept in cycles. Tall, draped in a shimmering black robe that shifted colors depending on the angle. The alien was a diplomat of the Trelzari Union, a species known for their love of paperwork and anxiety. He carried a clipboard and the aura of someone who had accidentally signed a pact with a war god. Human subject, 001, designation. Timmy Jenkins? The diplomat said, blinking all four eyes rapidly. Timmy leaned back. Yeah, what's up? The diplomat flinched. I bring word from the Intergalactic Council. You are under observation and potential classification as an unregulated biochemical weapon. Cool, Timmy replied, fishing a crumpled comic book from his cargo shorts. Do I get like a badge or a certificate or something? The diplomat blinked again, then handed him a stack of forms that weighed more than Timmy himself. These are waivers, statements of non-aggression, cultural exemption clauses, and 500 mandatory disclaimers. Timmy stared at the stack. My mom says I'm not allowed to sign stuff without asking her. This short-circuited the diplomat's thought process entirely. His internal organs debated fleeing the body. He turned, muttered something about recalibrating protocols, and bolted from the room. Back on the capital moon of the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. Emergency sessions were called. Systems that hadn't spoken in centuries sent envoys. The footage of the fight had been played, paused, analyzed, and screamed over in thousands of languages. One faction, the Yalari bureaucratic caste, demanded Earth be quarantined indefinitely. Another faction proposed studying the child in a controlled environment, preferably with lasers. And then there was Admiral Kren Valen of the Exemplar Fleet, a human ally from Earth's UN representative coalition. Vallon, a hardened veteran with a buzz cut, a permanent scowl, and a closet full of denim jackets, watched the footage again, in silence before muttering, "That's a Nebraska kid, all right. They raise 'em weird out there." He had been summoned to testify before the High Circle, a ring of glowing alien minds shaped like floating Mobius strips and powered by ego and paranoia. As he stepped into the chamber, 1,000 unseen eyes observed him. "Admiral Vallon," came the voice, speaking in synthesized common. "Explain this." "Timmy Jenkins," Vallon shrugged. "American kid. Looks like 10, maybe 11. Probably thinks mustard is a vegetable. Not sure why you're panicking." The Mobius mind crackled. He destroyed 17 elite combatants. "Yeah," Vallon said, nodding. "With garbage. That's not power. That's human spite. You try raising a kid on flat soda, microwave food, and parental neglect, and you'll get a tactical genius. 2. We believe Earth has genetically engineered war children." "Nope," Vallon said. "We just stopped baby-proofing them in the early 2000s. Built character." There was a silence, the uneasy kind that stretched across wavelengths and empires. On the other side of the galaxy, in the gladiator barracks beneath Kragolon 9, the surviving mercenaries were in crisis. Their leader, Skarngar, now a twitching mess in a full-body regenerative tank, had been incapacitated by what their logs described as compressed poultry flesh. Those still conscious held a meeting. "We were humiliated," hissed Vrelt the Scythe, a skeletal being made of interlocking blades. "We must reclaim our honor." "Against a human larva?" growled another. "There is no honor in losing. To processed cheese." Then we must kill him in a rematch, Vrelth spat, but that idea was already poisoned. Timmy wasn't just a kid anymore. He was becoming a symbol, a rallying cry, a meme. Some species believed he was the avatar of chaos. Others thought he was proof Earth had gods. A few saw him as the end of all things. Nobody wanted to fight him again. Not because he was strong, but because he was unpredictable. In the depths of the arena's archives, a cloaked figure watched the footage silently. Her skin shimmered with refracted light, her eyes glowing with quiet precision. A human. Older. Teenaged. She smirked. "Finally," she whispered. They woke one. Back in the suite, Timmy was bored. He had taken apart the remote control to see if the batteries were compatible with his Game Boy. They weren't. He had tried using the translator pad to order pizza. No luck. Finally, he got up and started talking to the surveillance drone hovering silently in the corner. So like, "Are you guys robots, or is someone watching through you?" Because if it's the second one, that's creepy. The drone beeped, as if nervous. "You don't have to be shy, I just want to know if you have YouTube here. I was watching this series about a guy who reviews cereal with swords." The drone beeped again. A few moments later, the screen displayed Earth content. Timmy's face lit up. "Aw, heck yeah, the one with Count Chocula." Meanwhile, Earth's a delegation finally arrived. Led by Ambassador Rhonda McClellan, a sharp-dressed woman in her 50s with a permanent earpiece, 3 phones, and the demeanor of someone who'd negotiated with toddlers and tyrants alike. They immediately filed for Timmy's release. "He is a child," she said in front of the council. "You cannot prosecute or dissect a child because your fighters got humiliated by fruit snacks." An insectoid representative clicked furiously. "He weaponized sodium carbonation." Rhonda leaned forward. "And your species has a ritual where you slap each other with eel carcasses to solve legal disputes. Don't pretend we're the weird ones." The council bickered, hissed, and pulsed with light. Ultimately, they settled on a compromise. Timmy would be released to Earth's custody, but must undergo a series of supervised demonstrations to determine whether he was a one-off fluke or part of a larger, more dangerous trend. The tests would be broadcast live. The galaxy watched. As the order was processed, Valen called Rhonda. "You sure this kid's ready for more attention?" Rhonda exhaled. "He's 10. His attention span is 90 seconds. Just keep him fed and away from vending machines." Timmy, now freshly bathed and dressed in a new hoodie with an alien sports team's logo, was escorted to the shuttle platform. He yawned. "Can I bring my slime?" Rhonda smiled. "You can bring 2. As the shuttle lifted off, one of the pilots turned and asked, "What exactly are we testing him for again?" Rhonda adjusted her earpiece. "Everything. Combat. Intellect. Diplomacy. Chaos theory. Cultural contamination. We need to know if he's a human anomaly." She paused, watching Timmy stick googly eyes on the window, or just a human. In the blackness of space, forces began to stir. Pirate lords discussed alliances. Religious sects began rewriting doctrine. Artificial intelligences recalculated their threat matrices. Somewhere, a simulation designed to predict galactic conflict simply shorted out. Timmy slurped the last of a juice box and declared, "I hope the next place has pizza rolls. I'm starving." And in that moment, 12 different species prepared. Emergency contingency plans, just in case he got hungry again. Under the glossy dome of Station Veritas orbiting the unremarkable gas giant Vortis 6, Timmy stood barefoot on a hexagonal testing pad, surrounded by silent, twitching experts. A sea of alien scientists, tacticians, biologists, sociologists, war strategists, and one guy from the Intergalactic Media Council who just wanted to sell lunchboxes had gathered to assess what exactly Earth had unleashed upon the galaxy. And standing at the center of that storm was a human child in a hoodie that said, "I paused my game for this." A digital clock flickered to life, counting down from 10. The first test, known as the Adversity Gauntlet, was a simulation meant to test adaptability under pressure, or as Timmy called it, Tuesday. Massive drones soared overhead. Walls shifted. The floor turned into lava. Well, a simulated liquid from Dracari volcanic resin that mimicked lava properties. Timmy just looked down, shrugged, and started hopping between the simulated stones like he was playing an Earth playground game. Hot lava, he muttered, landing on each stone with the grace of a sugar-fueled squirrel. We played this back, in daycare. An Eulaxian general who'd trained for 90 years on 3 planets burst a forehead vein. He's treating it like a joke. He's succeeding, whispered another. And he hasn't used a single weapon. Timmy reached the end, picked up a snack pouch that had inexplicably spawned mid-course and muttered, "Man, you guys really love the drama." The second test was psychological, a multi-tiered logic puzzle built from 4-dimensional hypercubes and abstract emotional triggers. The previous test subject, a being with 7 brains, had wept openly and asked for therapy. Timmy glanced at the shimmering puzzle wall, tried one shape, failed, shrugged, and then kicked it. The simulation glitched, and the puzzle solved itself. He turned to the stunned observers and grinned. "Just like Dad fixing the TV." By the third test, the observers stopped whispering. They stared in a kind of religious awe, mixed with fear and an overwhelming urge to call their mothers. The third test was diplomacy. Timmy was introduced to a set of alien factions known for perpetual grudges and nonsensical etiquette rules. They were told to engage him in discussion, conflict, and cultural exchange. Timmy immediately misunderstood the context and began trading Pokemon cards with them. "These are not legal tender," snapped the bark-skinned ambassador of Garcol 7. "But he gave me a shiny Charizard," croaked the ambassador of Zenith Prime. "I can't just give that back." Arguments broke out. Factions imploded. Treaties were accidentally signed in exchange for a Blastoise. One ambassador declared eternal neutrality after receiving a limited edition Pikachu. Outside the test arena, Rhonda McClellan was holding her 3rd coffee and 4th migraine. Valen, standing beside her, looked increasingly smug. "You seein' this?" he muttered. "That kid's doing in an hour what your whole council hasn't done in 200 years. Rhonda gave him a long stare. "I'm trying to decide whether I should promote him or ground him for cosmic instability. I say both. That's how my dad raised me." Meanwhile, Timmy's legend was spreading like wildfire. A sentient AI colony on the rim of Sirrekin 13 declared him a tactical outlier. The Church of Infinite Struggle added him to their pantheon under the title, "He Who Defies with Lunchables." A black market auction sold a melted piece of his used shoelace for 2 billion credits. Conspiracy theories swirled, some claiming Timmy wasn't real, others insisting he was the reincarnation of Earth's lost warrior prophet, Macaulay Culkin. Not all were amused. In the depths of the obsidian fold, where light dared not linger, a species known only as the Nits convened. The Nits were old, calculating, and utterly devoid of humor. They ruled by fear and bureaucracy. And Timmy Jenkins, Earthchild, was rapidly destabilizing centuries of their careful manipulation. "This human must be neutralized," rasped the Nits Prime. "Extermination?" "No. Assassination. Quiet. Elegant. Untraceable." A contract was sent through encrypted wormholes, touching only trusted hands. The mercenary chosen was legendary, feared, and known simply as Lurk. He'd once assassinated an entire board of executives during a live conference call. He'd been paid to remove an emperor by replacing his toothpaste with venom. He did not fail, and he was now assigned to terminate a 10-year-old human child who had, just hours ago, defeated a military-grade interrogation AI by pretending he needed to pee. Back at Station Veritas, Timmy was bored again. "I'm hungry," he told the drone escorting him to the next test. "You have consumed 14 calories beyond nutritional allowance," the drone replied. "You are due for metabolic recalibration." "Cool," Timmy said, licking one of the snack sticks from his sleeve pocket. "This one tastes like sadness." The door opened to what was supposed to be a cultural awareness room. Symbols, artifacts, scents, and audio frequencies designed to test empathy and cross-species understanding. Timmy walked straight to a statue of the Galfranian harmony god and sneezed on it. "Sorry," he said. "I think I'm allergic to peace." The statue shattered. Alarms did not go off. They had stopped bothering by now. But even as absurdity escalated, a subtle shift began in the atmosphere. The galaxy was starting to suspect that Earth's strength didn't lie in military superiority or exotic weapons. It was worse. Far worse. It was the humans' ability to improvise, to adapt without instruction, to take elite systems and break them using nothing but sarcasm, boredom, and whatever was in their pockets. The NIS saw it. The mercenaries who'd once fought Timmy saw it. Even the broadcast networks were struggling to manage the fallout, with viewership records shattering every hour. Commentators scrambled to explain. Was it luck? Chaos? A cosmic prank? And somewhere, a panel of scholars accidentally created a new branch of existential philosophy called Jenkinsism. Then came the incident. The official record stated it was a maintenance error, a power fluctuation. But unofficially, many believed Lurk had arrived. A blackout struck during the night cycle. Timmy, curled in a beanbag chair, was half asleep and mid-dream involving peanut butter and sentient waffles, when his room's lights died. The temperature dropped. The silence deepened. Lurk entered without a sound. Clad in armor that reflected no light, moving like a shadow allergic to time, he crossed the room in perfect silence. His tools were silent, efficient, lethal. He reached for the target, preparing to inject a neurotoxin that would simulate cardiac arrest. Timmy farted in his sleep. Lurk froze. There was no reaction, no stir. Just the slow exhale of a child who had eaten something that should not exist outside military rations. The air grew hostile. The scent hit Lurk's sensors. It bypassed filtration. It overwhelmed his neural net. He stumbled, tripped, knocked over a juice box. Timmy stirred, eyes still half-lidded. "You smell like my uncle," he muttered, turned, and rolled off the beanbag. Lurk, disoriented, crashed into the corner of a desk. The noise triggered the security drone, which activated in threat mode, screamed, and discharged a stun blast. The blast hit the metal casing of Timmy's snack pouch, ricocheted, and struck Lurk in the helmet. The assassin collapsed. Timmy sat up, blinking. Did the TV explode again? Security stormed in seconds later. The footage went viral in 2 minutes. Earth's representative filed a patent for Timmy's flatulence as a non-lethal defense mechanism. The NITS received the failure report and fell into a silence deeper than entropy. Back in the observation wing, Rhonda placed her head in her hands. "We're going to get sanctioned, or worshipped, or both." Vallone smiled. "Well, ma'am, welcome to Earth diplomacy." Timmy, now fully awake and asking for chocolate milk, was once again at the center of a galactic mystery no one knew how to solve. He had passed every test, broken every assumption, and somehow avoided death through the sheer force of bodily functions and dumb luck. But someone else was watching. That cloaked teenager again, human, perched on the edge of a trans-station beam. Her fingers danced along a rusted blade. Her eyes narrowed. She whispered to no one, "You're not the first, Jenkins, but maybe you'll be the last." And then she vanished as Timmy leaned back, yawned, and asked the nearby drone, "Hey, do you guys have pizza pockets here, or is that illegal too?" Under the flickering artificial lights of the station's high council dome, the galaxy's most influential species gathered once more, now united in a shared feeling none of them could explain. dread born from confusion. Each representative fidgeted, whispered, recalibrated their analysis modules, or in the case of the gelatinous diplomat from Hernzell, attempted to pray to all 14 of their gods simultaneously. The source of the disturbance stood 10 feet below on the raised podium, bored out of his mind and eating a half-melted candy bar. Timmy Jenkins, age 10, possibly the most dangerous being the galaxy had encountered, yawned. He was wearing socks with cartoon dinosaurs. There was no preamble. A new tribunal had been formed after the attempted assassination incident was caught on 17 separate security feeds, each clip featuring a different angle of Timmy sleep-farting his would-be killer into unconsciousness. The Galactic network hadn't stopped broadcasting since. Merchandising rights were sold. Quotes were being misattributed. Half a moon somewhere was now named Flatula. Rhonda stood beside the tribunal's speaker platform, dressed in her sharpest blazer, hair barely controlled by a multiband tension net, and wearing the expression of someone who'd aged 5 years in a week. Valon leaned against the wall, with arms folded, amused in a way only a man used to watching political systems collapse from smug distance could manage. "This has to end," muttered the chairman, a quadrupedal insectoid from the Eltari Dominion. "The chaos this one Earthling child brings is unacceptable. He has undermined military doctrine, obliterated diplomatic protocols, and generated 4 million memes." Timmy waved at the cameras. "Hi, Mom. I made a guy pee his exosuit." Rhonda stepped forward, her voice calm and deliberate. "With respect, the tribunal's efforts to quantify human unpredictability are flawed. Timmy is not a threat. He's a child." "A child," said a voice from the far end, "who has violated the stability threshold of 6 planetary economies. One of our gambling syndicates imploded. Not my fault they bet against me," Timmy called out, spinning lazily on one foot. "Tell Glarbach he still owes me 50 credits, the council murmured. That was accurate. Glarbach the Unshamed, head of the Sindari Wager Guild, had indeed defaulted on a bet placed during the arena fight. Even worse, he had done so live. His shame-failure rituals were now part of public broadcast curriculum in 5 systems. A new presence arrived at the chamber's edge, cloaked and silent. The teenager who had watched from the shadows before, human, lean, calculating, now stepped into the light. No longer an observer, but a force come to claim reckoning. Rhonda turned, slowly. "Who the hell is this?" Valon straightened, for once no longer smirking. "That's not just anyone. That's her." The teenager threw back her hood. Dark hair, piercing eyes, the kind that had seen too many fires, but still found ways to smirk through the smoke. Her name was Cass Monroe. Earthborn. Former child. Operative. Ghosted from military files. Known in some back channels as the Whisper Knife. She approached Timmy with a predator's grace, knelt to his eye level and said, "Do you know who I am?" Timmy stared at her for a second, then grinned. "You're the girl from level 7. You were spying." "I was observing," she replied. "Trying to figure out if you were like me." "And?" "I'm still deciding." The tribunal watched, with rapt horror. Human children appeared to be communicating via some emotional frequency outside known lexicons. Cass rose and addressed the chamber. "You think this boy is a mistake. He's not. He's the result of everything you feared. You watched Earth. You studied our wars, mocked our resilience, and underestimated our randomness. But this," she pointed at Timmy, "this isn't Earth's weapon. He's Earth's default setting." Timmy had started juggling holographic control orbs. He was doing a decent job. "The universe is old," Cass continued. "Civilizations calcify. Systems get brittle. Protocols define reality. Humans don't. We break things to see how they work. We poke the bear and then teach it tricks. We made entertainment out of gladiator sports, taught our kids kung fu from Saturday morning cartoons, and once beat an entire alien fleet using an off-brand energy drink and duct tape. A slimy diplomat tried to interrupt but couldn't raise a proper counterpoint through the quiet applause now spreading in the crowd. Cass pointed upward at the recording drones. "You're all scared because Timmy didn't follow the rules." "What rules? The ones you invented to keep things predictable?" "Predictable is the first thing we learn to laugh at." Rhonda leaned into Valen and muttered, "I don't know whether to promote her or sue her for copyright infringement." Timmy stopped juggling and caught each orb with precise, exaggerated flair. "I just wanted to skip math class. But sure, I'll be your weird chosen one or whatever." Before the council could respond, every alert system in the station triggered simultaneously. A wave of red lights spread like a solar flare across the room. Screens activated. Sirens howled. An unauthorized fleet had just warped into orbit. The Nits had returned, and this time they weren't playing quiet. 1,000 blackened ships surrounded the station. Their lead vessel broadcast a single message on all channels: surrender. The anomaly, or face systemic deletion. Cass glanced sideways. "That means him, right?" "Obviously it means him," Rhonda snapped. "Who else farted an assassin unconscious?" Timmy stepped forward, arms at his sides, face oddly serious. "Now, do they think blowing us up solves anything?" Valen's hand hovered near his holster. "It does, if you ignore karma." "I don't want anyone else hurt because of me," Timmy said quietly. Cass placed a hand on his shoulder. "Good thing we're here to do the hurting back." The station's defense systems activated. Fleets scrambled, diplomats vanished in flickers of cowardice. Everyone expected war. Everyone assumed carnage. And then Timmy stepped up to the central communications console, tapped a few buttons, and transmitted a short video to the NIH's fleet. It was a clip. A montage of his arena fight, overlaid with the song "Eye of the Tiger," followed by the footage of the assassination failure, and ending with him holding a juice box and winking. Below it was a simple text: "I'm still bored." There was silence for 7 seconds. Then, inexplicably, half the NI's fleet turned and jumped away. The others began arguing internally, broadcasting debates in ancient binary. One ship exploded from cognitive contradiction. Another tried to defect mid-battle and accidentally sent its warheads to its own capital. By the 10th minute, the fleet had effectively collapsed. Timmy shrugged. "Sometimes a meme is mightier than the sword." Cass looked at him, something close to admiration in her eyes. "You're not dumb. You just don't play by their playbook," he grinned. "I don't even know where they keep the rules." The tribunal, now unable to deny what they had seen, officially declared Timmy an unpredictable diplomatic entity of unknown threat class. Earth's ambassador responded by handing out autographed plushies. Somewhere in the background, a band had already started playing a human national anthem, but it sounded suspiciously like the theme from Ghostbusters. Rhonda stared at the mess they had created, the mess they had survived, and sighed. This was supposed to be a simple observation. Mission. Valen patted her shoulder. It was. Then a child showed up. Cass and Timmy stood side by side, looking out at the debris cloud where an empire once floated. "So," Cass said, "want to team up?" Timmy blinked. "Do you have Wi-Fi?" "Better. I have a ship with a fridge full of pudding." "Let's go." And with that, the two youngest humans ever declared galactic threats walked out of the chamber, one humming the Super Mario Bros. Theme, the other already plotting what weirdness came next. Behind them, the galaxy tried to recover, tried to understand, tried to forget, but it couldn't, because the message had already spread. Earth wasn't feared for its armies or machines. It was feared for what it let grow naturally, and his name was Timmy.